was really looking forward to NXT this week because we had a lot built up to it and we knew exactly what we were going to get. The link to this show, which I recommend you do watch, is down in the description box below. We had an NXT Championship match between Bo Dallas and Leo Kruger, which has been built up for the last month or so now. We had Dean Ambrose versus Adrian Neville for the US Championship. We also had an interesting concept in NXT, a first being a dance-off between Emma and Summer Rae, an interesting way of using the Divas on the roster. So this show had pretty much everything. We had some good matches on the show, we had some good segments, we had some interesting crowd reaction, we had some good backstage segments too. So this show was well worth watching because there was so much variety on this show. If you want entertainment, you had the dance-off. If you wanted good matches, you had Dean Ambrose versus Adrian Neville. If you wanted interesting crowd reactions, you had the main event match with Bo Dallas being in there. We also had Tyler Breeze on the show, which is a good character. So I do recommend you go out of your way to watch this show. Also, another reason why you should go out of your way to watch this show is because it had Alex Riley on commentary, who is going to be a future color, maybe even play-by-play guy for the WWE, in my opinion. Yes, yes, motherfucking yes. Did anyone else find it funny that the first thing Byron Saxton said on the mic before he even introduced the US Championship was that Tyler Breeze had entered the building? I don't know, I just find it funny that Tyler Breeze has to come ahead of everyone else, even the US Champion, on NXT right now because he's such a damn hot character. But I just think this is a nice way of sort of keeping him on people's memories and using the old Elvis quote, you know, Elvis has left the building or has entered the building, etc. But anyway, we get to the US Championship match between Dean Ambrose and Adrian Neville. And the quick thing I want to address here, I want to know your opinion. Do you think that the US Championship being defended on NXT kind of downgrades the belt? You know, the fact that it is on a developmental show rather than being defended on Raw or SmackDown. Do you think that kind of degrades the belt a little bit? I'm just wondering your opinions. And I just wondered, did this match really need the belt? I mean, Adrian Neville versus Dean Ambrose and how it went out. Did this match really need the belt? Would it have made that much difference to the match if the belt wasn't involved? Because I'm not a massive fan of them using US Championship matches to sort of enhance storylines on NXT, which is essentially like a fifth-rate show kind of thing. It's like a developmental show. Especially when it doesn't even main event NXT, it opens NXT. So it's like, well, this championship isn't even important enough to main event an NXT show. He has to open the damn show. But the match itself was pretty decent. I mean, it was nothing out of this world. It was a decent match between the two. And I found myself, I wasn't really too fussed about the match. It was more about the post-match here. You had Adrian Neville just about to win the belt. He just hit his finisher, just about to win the belt when the Shield come out and beat him 3-on-1. And then you have Corey Graves and Xavier Woods running them off. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, I think the Shield could have took on Corey Graves and Xavier Woods, who were essentially, you know, Xavier Woods is kind of a jobber. So's Corey Graves, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Shield could have took these guys on. 6 months ago, the Shield would have beat these guys down, but because they've been de-pushed so much, they kind of run off. But anyway, I do wonder if this is setting up some kind of six-man tag down the line. And this is what I mean about the US Championship being there to forward on other storylines. Was the title in this match really necessary? Give me your opinions on that. I'm just really interested to see what you think about the US Championship being involved in NXT and being used to forward on storylines elsewhere. Backstage segment plus Enzo Amore equals not bronze, not silver, but motherfucking gold. This guy is fucking gold on the mic. Whenever he is talking, I immediately pay attention. I really do. He even outshined Sylvester Lafore, who didn't say a damn word other than oui or no. You know, this is how good Enzo Amore is. Goddamn, I love this jobber character. Definitely better than Heath Slater, in my opinion. And it looks like apparently next week Scott Dawson is going to be jobbing to Mason Ryan and SAWFT Soft. Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore are going to be there getting a front row seat, and they're probably going to end up doing some jobs down the line as well because they're the Job Squad tag team of NXT. But I don't give a shit. This was fucking entertaining, this shit. Enzo Amore is gold in anything. Backstage segment, in the ring, on the mic, in his entrance, fucking gold. In my opinion, the segment of the night was the dance-off between Summer Rae and Emma for a #1 contendership to Paige's newly won Women's Championship next week. And the reason why this was the best segment of the show, just listen to the crowd. The crowd were loving it. You know, when Emma was dancing, we had yes, 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 yes. When Summer Rae was dancing, we had no, 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 no. You even had the crowd fandangoing at one point. The crowd were really into this segment. It just goes to show you, you don't need technical wrestling and all that to make a good match or to make something the crowd is going to be involved in. These dance-off segments, while they may seem silly to the more serious fans, are quite entertaining to casual fans, which is why this got such a great reaction from the crowd. This was a really nice way of using Summer Rae as Fandango's dancer and Emma as a dance-off gimmick. And this was an NXT first as well. You don't usually see this kind of stuff on NXT. So when it gets done, it does feel very special. And I think we all knew Emma was going to win this in some way, but they kind of twisted it. They had Emma win the segment and then Summer Rae attacking her after the match. And we got the news that Emma wasn't ready to compete next week. And so Summer Rae will probably be taking her place. So it looks like Summer Rae and Paige is going to happen next week. But this segment, the way the crowd reacted, the way it was done, it was just really entertaining, which is why I thought over all the matches on this show and all the characters on this show, I thought this was the best segment of the night. You know your entrance is pretty damn good when upon your entrance and upon finishing and being ready for the match, you get "that was awesome" chants from the crowd. And the crowd was pretty good tonight in most places on the show. And this is the thing about the Tyler Breeze character. It's not really about him squashing a guy in 1 minute. It's not really about how he wrestles or what style he wrestles. It's just about the character. The character is everything with the Tyler Breeze gimmick. You had Byron Saxton saying at the beginning of the show, Tyler Breeze has entered the building. You've got his phone now on the Titantron. I mean, he uses his phone all the time on his entrance. Why the hell can't we see exactly what he sees on the phone? What a great addition to try and exemplify his character, just using something simple like a phone screen going to a Titantron. And the little nuances that are going on with the Tyler Breeze character, it may get old after a while. It probably will, and just like Fandango and other characters like Brodus Clay. Yes, it might get a little bit stale, but I'm going to enjoy this character while it's fresh and new. I really thought that after last week's backstage segment with him and CJ Parker doing the camera bombing thing, which was kind of funny, I thought they would have a match, but it turns out he had a match against Dan Birch, who was some jobber who he defeated in 1 minute, as a new character like Tyler Breeze really should be doing, even though he kind of looks like a sort of miniature dwarf version of Dolph Ziggler. In my opinion, I'm just saying. I found it funny that before we got to the NXT Championship match, you had Byron Saxton getting on the mic, and before he even announces anything, saying, "I have just been informed that Tyler Breeze has left the building." Fucking gold. Just one of these things that just makes me laugh and it just makes me entertained about NXT. It's sometimes the small things that do it for me. Whether you're in the crowd at the NXT tapings, whether you're backstage at NXT, whether you're watching NXT on your TV screen or online somewhere, it has become very, very apparent and very consistent as well that the crowd just do not like Bo Dallas. They are starting lately to give him "get the fuck out of the ring, we don't want to see you" kind of heat. Hence, no more Bo, no more Bo. So it's getting pretty obvious now that the crowd aren't liking Bo Dallas. And WWE and NXT, they've got to try and do something about this. They at least have to. John Cena is a big moneymaker for WWE, and you can kind of see why Vince McMahon doesn't want to do too much with the John Cena character, because he does so much for charity and is so, so good for the kids and everything like that. But Bo Dallas, you can do something with, which is why I found this backstage segment quite interesting with Bo Dallas. It seems like they're kind of hinting that Bo Dallas is this kind of becoming an egomaniac now. He's kind of letting it all get to his head. And to be honest, they need to do something to his character to fit what is becoming consistent bad crowd heat towards him. As I said earlier, X-Pac get the fuck out of the ring heat, which is why I found that quite interesting. I'm not necessarily interested. I don't like Bo Dallas, really. I'm not a fan of Bo Dallas, but I will say this. As much as I don't like Bo Dallas, I'm interested to see what WWE or NXT are going to try and do to try and combat the crowd heat that Bo Dallas has been getting on a consistent basis for the last couple of months, ever since he's won the NXT Championship. But we'll get to this match. Bo Dallas versus Leo Kruger for the NXT Championship. This has been built up for quite some time now. During the build-up, you've had Bo Dallas getting consistently booed. You've had Leo Kruger, the heel, getting consistently cheered. And I think it's time for WWE or NXT, who are handling this in particular Triple H, they need to do something. They need to kind of give up with Bo Dallas as a babyface, in my opinion, because clearly the crowd aren't liking him. You had Leo Kruger was trying to get heat on himself. He was putting the referee in front of him. He was doing cheap shots. He was rolling outside of the ring. He was trying to do everything in the book to try and get heat on him. It kind of reminds me of Bound for Glory between Austin Aries and Kendrick. People were loving Austin Aries. He was trying to get heat on himself, doing the timeout, etc. But people just hated the Brian Kendrick Wizard of Oz gimmick. And that's kind of the kind of feeling I'm getting here with Leo Kruger versus Bo Dallas. people just hate Bo Dallas so much that whatever Leo Kruger does, they will still cheer Leo Kruger. It's been like that for people going against John Cena for quite some time now. Look at certain examples like Brock Lesnar, Del Rio, people like that have gone against Cena in the past. And, you know, at one point in the match, you even had Leo Kruger doing a face comeback because of how the crowd had kind of just turned on one side. And like I said earlier, this was an interesting match. These matches are getting very interesting with Bo Dallas, not because of the match and what they're doing, but just because of the way the crowd is just not on Bo Dallas's side at all. And as a smart fan, you do kind of realize that, and it's more obvious to a smart fan, but to a casual fan, it must be fucking confusing. It's like, this guy's smiling and doing all this good guy stuff. Why are the fans booing him? It must be really interesting to be a casual fan right now, if not a little bit confusing, when guys like John Cena and Bo Dallas and even guys like Sheamus and Randy Orton are on the screen that are supposed to be good guys that are getting, you know, pretty much heel heat sometimes. It really does feel that way. But the match itself, Bo Dallas, as we kind of thought he would against Leo Kruger, is never going to win the belt, Leo Kruger. Bo Dallas ends up winning the match with a new submission hold, but I did notice the little nuances with Bo Dallas being a bit more aggressive when he couldn't get Leo Kruger down for the free. I really do hope that going forward, even though this is a decent match, I wasn't really too interested in the match. Like I said, my interest now is really on more what the hell they're going to do with Bo Dallas after this consistent crowd hate that he has been getting. But on the other hand, it did make for an interesting main event. I don't want to compare it to Hogan versus Rock or anything like that where the crowd switched, but these kind of matches of Bo Dallas, while they're not good, in my opinion, because the crowd aren't on his side, he's supposed to be a babyface, at least the matches are interesting. That's what I'll say about that, which is probably why they pushed John Cena so much, because at least the crowd was still reacting to John Cena. People are still reacting to Bo Dallas because they want him to get the fuck out. But anyway, I'll stop talking about that now. Been talking about that for way too long and my voice is going. Now I'm going to go on to my overall thoughts on this NXT show. So I felt this was a pretty good show. I thought you had a big variety of stuff. The dance-off segment was brilliant. In my opinion, the Tyler Breeze character itself is worth watching. The opening match between Dean Ambrose and Adrian Neville was a decent match, and the post-match could be semi-interesting, I guess, going forward. The main event was an interesting match just because of the crowd. It's amazing how a crowd can really make a sort of average match turn into somewhat of an interesting match just because of the way they're reacting to stuff. And that was made very apparent during the dance-off segment where they went mental for almost everything. Well, apart from Summer Rae's Fandango dancing, but they even Fandangoed for that. So it's how a crowd, just like last week, just shows how a crowd can really change the opinion on a show. So overall, I thought this edition of NXT was pretty good. And last week's show was pretty good. And I'm really looking forward to seeing the shows coming up next week because we've got some damn good shows coming up in my opinion. So keep your eye out on NXT, the best hour of wrestling TV in my opinion. Thank you very much for watching this review. If you have, comment your thoughts down below. I have been Mr. Parkin on behalf of the British Fist. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.